The 2026 Academy Awards, aka the Oscars, are right around the corner. And this year I decided to do something I've never done before and watch all 10 movies that are nominated for Best Picture. So after going through this journey of being as educated as I possibly can on this year's nominees, I decided it'd be fun to make a video about it, talk about all 10 movies, give my thoughts, and then predict who's going to win. I'll be refraining from spoilers for the most part. There'll be some minor details, but nothing crucial to the plots of the films. So without further ado, let's start with our first film.
Everything in my life's falling apart, but I'm gonna figure it out.
I figured I'd start this video off strong with one of my personal favorites from the list, Marty Supreme. An absolutely crazy movie starring everybody's favorite white boy, Timothée Chalamet. I really enjoyed this movie. It's a great dissection on what it takes to be successful and how pursuit of that success can be incredibly costly. Chalamet plays Marty Mauser, a ping-pong player who, according to the synopsis, goes to hell and back in the pursuit of greatness. And that's a great way to explain it. Marty really believes that he's genuinely God's gift to Earth, but for ping-pong. He knows he's good at table tennis, and he believes he is the best in the world. And the pursuit of that ends up being a lot harder than he thought it would be when a Japanese player comes in and is as good as he is. And while he may be great at table tennis, it's not exactly the most lucrative sport.
Do you make money at this little table tennis thing?
Not yet.
So he's not the most well off, so a lot of this movie is him trying to get money. This movie is a great representation of how trying to be the best in the world at something, no matter who you screw over or hurt or whatever else, can end up ruining what you already have. Trying to be the best comes with sacrifice, but at the same time, you can completely ruin everything you have. Not that Marty ruins everything, but he does a damn good job at ruining most of the relationships he already has. The writing is great in this movie, everything from the plot itself to the dialogue. Chalamet gives an absolutely infectious performance that really does make you root for him despite all the shitty things that he does. The performances of the rest of the cast are great too. Odessa Azion, hope I'm saying that correctly, is a personal favorite of mine. She does a great job playing the desperately in love with a toxic man who will never love her the same way that she loves him character. Gwyneth Paltrow was pretty solid too. Tyler the Creator played himself, which honestly is fine with me. And Kevin O'Leary also played himself. A piece of shit. But it worked because that's exactly what his character was. The movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes long, but it's so action-packed that I never feel slow. You rarely get a slow beat as we just keep on going. The cinematography was great with a big emphasis on close-up and medium shots, while having the scenes of the actual ping-pong matches being a lot wider and really showing the scope. Overall, this one is definitely up there for me. I'll save which movie I'm choosing for my personal favorite for Best Picture until the end of the video, but I will say that Marty Supreme is definitely up there.
Beautiful, ain't it?
Slowing things down a lot, we have Train Dreams. One of the more low-key films on this list, and one of the saddest ones, which seems to be a bit of a theme with this year's nominations. There are a lot of sad movies on this list. And Train Dreams is an interesting one. It's one of the slower films here, but it's one of the shortest as well, clocking in at 1 hour and 43 minutes. And I'm really glad that it's that length, because I don't know what else they really could have added. Apparently this is based off of a book. I have not read the book, but I'm sure they did a good job adapting it. It's a very, very sad movie, and not much happens in it. Like seriously, a lot of it is just spending time with our main character being sad or doing mundane things. Train Dreams is about Robert Grenier, a logger living in the Pacific Northwest at the turn of the 20th century. He lives a life as most loggers did at that time, a humble working man type. He makes a home in the forest with his wife and kids, and without getting into too much detail, tragedy strikes, and the rest of the movie is essentially dealing with that tragedy. The trauma, the grief, the attempt to move on, the inability to do so. And while I do think that the movie does a great job depicting those things, as well as depicting the lives of people around this time, it never really has an up point. Very little stuff actually happens in this movie. Not that I was expecting an action-packed adventure, obviously, but things just kind of keep getting worse for this guy, and it just doesn't get better, and ends up making it just not the most enjoyable story to experience. And I'm not necessarily saying that in a negative way. I don't think this movie was trying to make people feel all happy and warm and fuzzy, but you definitely have to be into sad movies to be able to enjoy this one. Thankfully, I am. The performances overall were good, but not necessarily fantastic. Joel Edgerton plays the main character in this, and he plays the role of Shy Lumberjack very well, but a personal highlight for me was William H. Macy. I'm a huge fan of his work, and it's nice to see him here. But the biggest highlight of the entire movie for me was the cinematography. Holy shit, does this movie look incredible. Personally, I believe it's the best looking movie on this this list. They put an emphasis on wide shots, contrasting with the narrow aspect ratio that they used for this movie, 3:2. The movie really captures the verticality of the trees. They used very wide lenses to capture a lot in the frame while having less room to do so. It's very noticeable and it's very beautiful. I was a big fan of how this movie was shot. With that being said, while I do think that this movie does have some very strong aspects, it's not exactly the most standout film on the list. I'm glad I got a nomination, but it's not a favorite of mine.
Hope is not a strategy.
Going from trains to cars, we have F1. Now I will say that while this movie is good, it has absolutely no business being on this list. I don't even think it deserves to win some of the other categories that it's nominated for. Best visual effects, sure, they were good, but they didn't blow me away. Most of it is just cars driving. Best editing? I mean, it wasn't edited poorly or anything, but this movie's 2 hours and 35 minutes, and you can definitely tell. To me, this really just feels like Apple and Formula One teamed up to make this movie, and to make it successful, they had to make a huge push to get it in the award shows this year. Part of getting nominated for an Oscar is studios making huge campaigns and pushing to get them at the award shows, and when you have Apple's bank account, that isn't that difficult. So to me, this really just feels like they bought the spots, and I just don't want it to win based off of that alone, really. Especially when there are other movies that are really good that could have taken its spot. Brad Pitt plays Sonny Hayes, a former F1 driver who goes around doing random lower tier races to keep up his love of the game. Despite retiring from F1 30 years ago, Ruben, played by Javier Bardem, asks Sonny to come back and race again to help save his team from ceasing to exist. There's a young hotshot driver who's already on the team, Joshua, played by Damson Idris, who's a very talented driver, but his ego and arrogance and lack of being a team player get in the way of reaching his true potential. From there on, the movie plays out exactly how you would probably expect it to. Brad Pitt is the old guy who does things differently from the youngins, and the young hotshot doesn't like it. So that's the dynamic between them, and basically the dynamic between Sonny and the rest of the characters. I'm mostly making fun of it, but it's not a bad story, it's just really basic. The movie is pretty cookie cutter, and for a popcorn flick, that's fine, but not for a Best Picture nominated movie, especially with some of the other movies it's up against. Brad Pitt is good in it, he's playing a Brad Pitt character, so you know what to expect. There's a character called Kate, who's played by Carrie Condon, who isn't Rebecca Ferguson. She's fine, she's the love interest for Brad Pitt's character, and they have okay chemistry, I guess. Javier Bardem is always great, and Damson Idris is probably the best performance in the movie despite his character arc being very predictable. No one is bad, but no one stands out that much either. The cinematography, production design, costumes, editing, all that stuff is good, but nothing really stands out. The best scenes of the movie are the race scenes, which, I mean, they better be. They're very fun, and this is where the cinematography and the visual effects shine the most. Again, I just don't like this movie being on the list. It's good, it's fun to watch, and if you're an F1 fan, you probably really enjoyed it. Overall, this movie is a great pick when you want to watch something fun, but not too complex, but it's a bad choice for Best Picture. And I really, really hope it doesn't win. I don't think it's going to, but there's always that chance.
How can you tell she's an alien?
Going to a movie that does deserve to be here, Bugonia. What a wild one this one was. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, same director as Poor Things, he teams up with Emma Stone once again to make yet another weird-ass movie, and I am here for it. Bugonia is about Teddy, played by Jesse Plemons, who is incredible, and why the fuck does he not have an Oscar already, who's deep into conspiracy theories and believes that Michelle, played by Emma Stone, a CEO of a pharmaceuticals company, is an alien conspiring against the human race. So with the help of his brother, he decides to kidnap her and force her to take them to her mothership and save humanity. And that's all I can really say about the plot without spoiling too much. This movie is a great representation of how modern day conspiracy theorists think and work, but in this case they actually take action. The obsession and how being obsessed with something like this can ruin the relationships around you, how trauma and other things that happen to you can lead down this pipeline. The movie also does a great job at keeping you on your toes, making you second guess a lot of what's going on, and it really does pay off in the end. The ending to this one is amazing. Jesse Plemons is so good in this one, and I'm shocked he didn't get nominated. There really aren't a ton of actors that are as good at being a scary, unhinged lunatic like he is. His ability to talk in a calm tone while saying the most insane shit just makes him such a presence in this movie. Emma Stone is amazing, and she wouldn't be my first choice for Best Actress, but I understand why she's nominated. She plays the mean but incredibly intelligent businesswoman here very well, with her character being in such a stressful situation and still being able to talk and stay calm and try to negotiate things. I really don't know how many actresses would have pulled it off as well as she did. Aidan Delbus plays Teddy's brother Don, who is mentally handicapped and very impressionable. Bro just wants to hang out with his brother and have a happy life. Why can't we give that to him? His character Richter is adorable and pretty tragic as well, one of the highlight performances of this movie. The whole aesthetic of this movie is awesome, with a big emphasis on orange and yellows. The sets are awesome. Teddy's house looks exactly like how you would think it would. I like how Michelle's company has this super big glass paned building that takes 3 years for her to get from the entrance to her office. Just a complete tonal contrast between her life and Teddy's life. I also like how this world isn't clearly a one-to-one interpretation of our world. There's something eerie and off about this world. Certain people and things just don't seem right. It creates this very interesting, very thoughtful, very beautiful movie that can also get really nasty at times. This one is just a blast from front to back, and honestly, would probably deserve a Best Picture nomination.
I have no talent for waiting.
Sorry, were we talking about movies? Because Hamnet bored the shit out of me. Listen, I might be in the minority here, but I just really didn't like this movie. Do I understand why people like it and why it's nominated for Best Picture? Sure, but I really don't think it's that strong of a movie. It tells the story of William Shakespeare meeting his wife and having kids, and then after tragedy in the family, gets inspired to write his famous play, Hamlet. And I think this film made me realize that I just don't like anything Shakespeare related. I've never liked any of the movie adaptations of his plays. I just find the way they talk so pretentious. I know, I get it, it's supposed to be smart and melodramatic, but it's just so boring to me. I hate listening to it. But this movie doesn't even have that all that much, and still I just couldn't get interested. The movie shows a lot of the rest of Shakespeare's family, mostly the wife, who's basically the main character. Agnes, played by Jessie Buckley, is easily the best part of this movie. She is incredible in this, especially in scenes where she's experiencing great pain or grief. I called her the crash out queen after watching this because that's exactly what she is. When you see a character in a movie get hurt or get sad or something like that, some actors are better than others for sure, but you can still mostly tell when it's acting. But with her, it's like they actually did some of the stuff that they did to her character to the actress in real life. She was so convincing and so incredibly realistic with it that it was genuinely uncomfortable to watch in the best way possible. Shakespeare's actor Paul Mescal, on the other hand, is good. Not great, but he's good. But he definitely did not have the same crash out ability as Jessie Buckley. The film overall looks quite good. It seems like a very accurate depiction of 16th century England, at least I would assume so. The cinematography is quite good, but only has a few standout shots for me. So it's not like I didn't like anything from this movie. I recognize where this movie does well. But overall, the story just isn't that engaging to me. I didn't really care about most of the characters. I just felt like they could have gone even deeper into learning more about Shakespeare's family, and we get glimpses of that, but most of the movie is people being sad. And it's not the most engaging or most well-written story about experiencing grief. For me, it just kind of comes down to, it's a movie that some people are going to really, really love, but it's just not my thing. It's carried by Jessie Buckley, it looks really good, but it's far from my favorite film on this list.
I demand a single grace from you.
Moving on, we have Frankenstein. Yet another iteration of the classic story, this time held by Guillermo del Toro. Featuring a pretty star cast of Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi as the monster, Mia Goth as Lady Elizabeth, and Christoph Waltz as Henrik Harlander. This is a pretty solid interpretation of the classic story, at least from an entertainment perspective, especially considering the iterations of the story that we've gone over the past 2 decades. It tells the story of Victor, starting with him as a child, then he grows up and becomes a scientist, starts trying to reanimate bodies, he gets the resources to do a lot more, he makes the monster, and hijinks ensue. The movie starts with being told through the perspective of Victor telling the story of a monster to a ship crew that he stumbled upon, and then at one point it also flips to the monster's perspective. A very welcome addition to the story. I don't know if any previous interpretations of the story have that, I haven't read the book or anything, but his part of the story is probably the most interesting part of the film. This movie is beautiful in both the story itself and production design. If there's one thing that all Del Toro movies have, it's great production design, and that's everything on the camera, from costumes to makeup to sets. Jacob Elordi looks great as the monster, even though I've seen some criticism of how he looks. Personally, it worked for me, didn't really have a problem with it. Maybe you can add more flaws to his body or whatever, but overall, he looked great. Oscar Isaac is fantastic as Victor. He's usually super solid, but him playing the arrogant, impatient, and ambitious Victor Frankenstein is one of his best roles yet. The whole gothic 18th century look of this movie just hits so hard, and it's so Del Toro. One of the things that I do think isn't as good as it could have been in this movie is the cinematography. It's not bad per se, but it's not particularly interesting. The whole aesthetic of the film is what makes it fun to look at, not necessarily the shots. The film is relying heavily on the sets and performances to convey the tone instead of using the camera to do so. So this movie being up for best cinematography is a bit of a stretch for me. I've also seen some criticism online of this movie that it doesn't have as much nuance with the who's the real monster part of the story, one of, if not the main themes of the original Frankenstein story, and I can't say that I disagree with that sentiment. It's pretty clear the whole time that Victor is an asshole and the monster is just a victim, but it doesn't ruin the story for me, especially since, as I said, I haven't read the book or really watched many other Frankenstein movies. And without spoiling it, I'll say that I did not like the ending. It's not the worst, but not the best either. Overall, I quite enjoyed Frankenstein and would recommend it, especially if you're looking for a movie like this, but I do think that there was some room for improvement.
We can't really talk.
Moving on to something much more low-key, we have Sentimental Value. A Norwegian film making its way onto the Best Pictures list, it follows Nora Borg, played by Renee, who's an actress who mostly does stage plays, and she has a father that is a film director, Gustav Borg, played by Stellan Skarsgård, who writes a movie and wants her to star in it for very personal reasons. She refuses as she has a bad relationship with her father and doesn't want to work with him. Same with her sister Agnes, played by Inga, how the fuck do you say that? Because their father wasn't exactly the most gentle or present father when they were growing up. Determined to make the movie, Gustav presses on, recruiting Rachel Kemp, played by Ella Fanning, to be the main actress in the movie. The film does a good job showing a realistic portrayal of this kind of family dynamic. While we know that Gustav is a shitty father, they don't exactly show it a lot. There's a flashback or two and a few scenes where he's being a dick, but for the most part, it's just told to us. But I actually think that that's a really good thing. I know show don't tell is a rule that films have and stuff, but sometimes it's fine if you tell if the way you're telling it is a good way to tell it. We don't need to see him being an abusive father. We can tell from the personality and his actions that, yeah, he's a pretty selfish guy. It's a great depiction of family troubles because at the end of the day, your family is your family. It's a story about family, about grief, about generational trauma. It's a beautiful and well done story, and while it's quite sad, it's not the saddest movie on this list and has a good balance. I've talked a fair bit about Gustav, and while Stellan Skarsgård is amazing, I do want to emphasize that Renee is absolutely the highlight of this movie with her portrayal of Nora. A very complicated woman that has many flaws, but they're very relatable. Take your pick from her character flaws: depression, impulsion, anxiety, not being the best at maintaining relationships. She's fantastic, and she might not be my first choice for Best Actress. I would not be mad if she won. Inga is great as Agnes as well, really plays that sibling trying to keep the family together character very well. This movie really doesn't have a ton of flaws. It's a great story and one that I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to, at least on a personal level.
I've had a few.
A few what?
A few small beers.
Speeding things up, we have one battle after another. A shockingly relevant to today's time story, we follow the French 75, a revolutionary group, shockingly not full of French people. They commit acts of resistance against the American government, such as breaking up ICE detention centers, bombing banks and government buildings, and they're actually pretty successful at it. After the group gets mostly broken up and the government catches up to them, we follow Bob, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, as he raises his daughter in hiding. Being a paranoid, depressed, but also very passionate guy, Bob smokes weed and drinks a lot to numb the pain. Then eventually Stephen J. Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn, the army general who led the charge against the French 75, catches up to them and tries to take down Bob and the remaining members of the organization. There's much more to his actual motivations of why he's trying to catch them, but I can't say them without spoiling. This movie is an absolute roller coaster. At 2 hours and 42 minutes, you would think that it would slow down at times, but it very rarely ever does. Paul Thomas Anderson does an amazing job directing here. The first half hour alone is just balls to the walls with shit. A ton of action, drama, sex, it's got it all, folks. Then, after a minor slowdown where we learn where the characters are after a large time jump, it gets right back to it, with some incredible chase scenes and high tension moments to keep you engaged the whole time. DiCaprio is amazing as usual, but this is one of my favorite roles that he's done. He goes from this passionate and intelligent revolutionary to this deadbeat stoner dad, and then back to a passionate revolutionary, but he's super out of practice of it, and it makes for some hilarious hilarious scenes, and his character arc is my favorite of the whole movie. Tiana Taylor is also in this, playing Perfidia Beverly Hills. She plays Bob's love interest, but is also the most passionate of the revolutionaries, but at the same time also doing it for very selfish reasons. Benicio del Toro, not related to Guillermo, is also in this one. He plays Sensei, and he's a friend that everybody should have. He's great in this one, absolutely fun to watch. But when it comes to performances, I saved the best for last, Sean Penn. And holy fuck, do I love Sean Penn in this movie. Stephen J. Lockjaw is one of my favorite villains in a long time. He is such a presence in this movie and gives a performance that is equal parts terrifying and hilarious. He's funny, he's creepy, and he's incredibly determined and will stop at nothing to get what he wants. Everything from the way he walks to the way he talks to some of his line deliveries are just incredible.
You like black girls? I love them. I love them.
One Battle After Another is an absolute banger and does not get stale on rewatches either. It's fun, it's action-packed, it's got some of the best performances of the whole year. It would be a great choice for Best Picture. Moving from America to Brazil, we have The Secret Agent, a political thriller set in 1970s Brazil, a time of great crime and corruption. It follows Armando, played by Wagner Moura, a technology teacher and researcher who pissed off the wrong guys and now has to go into hiding, abandoning his son to do so, and eventually has to go to a sanctuary housing for other people like him, trying to escape his past, all the while the people he pissed off are sending hitmen after him. He's trying to figure out a way for him and his son out of the country, all the while he's being spied on and followed. The film is a slow burn for sure, really focusing in on getting to know these characters, as well as highlighting Brazilian culture and the context of the times. It's not a film that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time, but rather really takes its time getting you to sympathize with the characters as well as despise the characters that are corrupt. Wagner Moura is great in this one. I've loved his work since Narcos, so really happy to see him get a Best Actor nomination. Another great performance in this one is Tania Maria, who plays Donna Sebastiana, the head woman of the sanctuary housing. She's the perfect sassy old woman. She's super hilarious every time she's on screen. A brief but impactful performance is Coyote Venasio, who plays Vilmar, a hired gun, and the scenes that he's in, he's pretty terrifying in. He gives a very threatening and intense performance. It's almost haunting at times. The movie looks great, very colorful sets. It really makes you feel like you're in Brazil with the rest of the characters. The cinematography is very good. It's definitely a very slow film and maybe could have been a bit shorter, but overall I think this movie is a very interesting time and culture piece that tells the story of a complicated life at a complicated time. I don't have a ton to say about it aside from that, but overall it was a good watch.
Listen here, this ain't no house party.
Last but certainly not least, we have Sinners. Directed by Ryan Coogler, director of Creed and Black Panther, he teams up with Michael B. Jordan once again to deliver a movie that got the most amount of Oscar nominations ever. A horror action movie set in 1930s America, in Mississippi, where two brothers Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan, they leave their life of crime in the big city to come back to where they came from and open up a joint. A place for the people of color of the town to come out and party without fear of being unwelcome. However, on opening night, vampires! And all hell breaks loose as our heroes try to hold down the fort and stop the vampires from coming in, because the vampires want the musical power of Sammy Moore, played by Miles Caton, whose music, unbeknownst to him, can do a lot of magical stuff. This movie is great. It's super fun, and Ryan Coogler really knows how to make a movie. From a technical perspective, this movie looks amazing and has some sequences where you're just like, how the hell did they shoot that? The movie has a fantastic cast, Michael B. Jordan being an obvious highlight, playing two twin brothers each with their own distinct personality. He plays them perfectly, and it's no surprise he's nominated for Best Actor.
You twins? Nah, we cousins.
Woman named Musaku plays a witch-type woman, and she's great in this. Clearly the smartest character in the whole movie, and it's obvious why she got nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Delroy Lindo is also up for Best Supporting Actor. He plays the drunk old musician. His character is really fun to see on screen, and his voice is very nice to listen to. You could go through the whole cast and find gems, but one that definitely is not getting the credit that it deserves is definitely Jack O'Donnell, who plays Remick, the main vampire. Probably my second favorite villain of all these movies, right behind Lockjaw. He's always super fun to see on screen. He's the star of some of the best scenes in the entire movie, as well as having some of the best line deliveries.
Sammy!
All in all, Sinners deserves to be recognized at these Academy Awards, and it's no surprise it's getting this much praise. Does it deserve to have the most nominations ever? Maybe, maybe not. It could be a case of the competition this year not being as steep as previous years, but honestly, if Sinners ends up sweeping every category, you'd be hard-pressed to find one that it didn't deserve the win. It's a great film, and if it wins Best Picture, it'd be a huge deal. Being the first horror movie to win the award would be so great for the industry, especially when horror movies are almost never recognized at these award shows. Although you could argue it isn't really a horror movie because it's not that scary, but it fits enough things that it does count. It's an amazing movie. I've only seen it once, but I think it's just going to keep getting better on rewatches. It'd be huge for Ryan Coogler and the cast for it to win. I think it's going to win a lot this year, and it would make a huge mark on the industry at large. Okay, now it's time to rank all 10 movies. This is my official list. At number 10, we have F1, should not be here. At number 9, Hamnet, boring hell. At number 8, Frankenstein, good movie, not the best. At number 7, Train Dreams, sad, kind of boring. At number 6, The Secret Agent. At number 5, Sentimental Value. At number 4, Bugonia. Number 3, Sinners. Number 2, One Battle After Another. And number 1, Marty Supreme. So this list is basically my favorite to least favorite and how good I think these films are compared to one another. Now it's time to go on to our predictions. Actor in a leading role. Honestly, I think Timothée Chalamet's probably going to win this one, even though I think Michael B. Jordan might deserve it a little bit more. He did play two guys after all, and he did it very flawlessly. But I just get the feeling that they're going to give it to Timothée there. Actor in a supporting role. I'd be fine with either Benicio del Toro, Stellan Skarsgård, or Sean Penn, but I hope Sean Penn wins. I think he's going to, but I don't know. I feel like Delroy Lindo, even though his character was good in Sinners, that would not be my first choice for this one, and it kind of feels like it's going to go to him. Sinners is going to get a lot of awards here, but I think that Sean Penn should win this one. Actress in a leading role. If it's not going to Jessie Buckley in this one, then I don't know what they're doing. I guess it could also go to Emma Stone for Bugonia, and maybe Renee as well for Sentimental Value, but I think Jessie Buckley should win this one. Dark horse would be Renee for me. Actress in a supporting role. I hope that Amy Madigan wins for Weapons, but I don't think it's going to. I think that's either going to go to Wunmi Mosaku or maybe Ella Fanny. Nah, I don't think so. I think this one's probably, I really hope it goes to Amy Madigan, but I think it's going to go to Wunmi Mosaku. Animated feature film, it's going to go to K-pop, we all know this. Animated short film, don't know anything about this, can skip the ones I don't know. Casting, I think, should either go to One Battle After Another or Sinners. I like Marty Supreme's cast as well, but I feel like they just went for some really big names, and that's fine, but overall I think that it should be a bit more deep than that, and Sinners had a really good cast, and so did One Battle. Cinematography, kind of anybody but Frankenstein here, to be honest. I kind of hope it goes to Train Dreams, but I feel like it's going to go to Sinners or Marty Supreme. Most deserving to me would be either Train Dreams or Sinners. I think it's going to go to Sinners. Costume design, I feel like Frankenstein should definitely get this one. Directing, I think, has got to go to Paul Thomas Anderson or Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Film editing, I think Marty Supreme should win this one, and I kind of think it will, maybe Sinners, but I think Marty Supreme would be my prediction, and the one I think would deserve the most. International feature film, now I can't speak on any of these aside from The Secret Agent and Sentimental Value, so I think for those two, I think Sentimental Value would be my pick for that. Obviously, there are other movies on the list, but the fact that those two movies were nominated for Best Picture, it means probably it's going to be one of them that's going to win. Makeup and hairstyling, I feel like Sinners should win this one. I could see Frankenstein winning as well, but I'll say Sinners. Original score, man, this one is kind of difficult, but I kind of think Sinners should win this one. They have just a great blend of different kinds of music. Of course, we have Best Picture. Now, I said Marty Supreme was my favorite film, but do I actually want it to win? No, I actually want Sinners to win this one. I think it's going to. I think it's kind of written on the wall. It'd be great for the industry if it won, so I want it to win, and I kind of think it's going to. I think other deserving films would be One Battle After Another or Marty Supreme. Production design, Frankenstein should win this one. Sound, F1 has really good sound. I'd be fine with it winning that one, but I think Sinners should win this. Visual effects, I mean, I guess Avatar could win something. I didn't see that one. I didn't care. Anything but Jurassic World, honestly, but I'm gonna say Sinners for this one. Maybe F1 gets a win here. It wouldn't be the worst, I guess. Writing, adapted screenplay. I didn't know Bugonia was adapted. I hope it wins that one, actually. And writing, original screenplay, I think Marty Supreme should win this one, or Sentimental Value. I think that'd be really interesting if that one won. So that's it. All 10 movies discussed in one video, your ultimate Oscars 2026 preview. It's a great crop of movies, and there's definitely a few pictures that would deserve the win if they were to get it, but that's why it's interesting, even though getting an award isn't necessarily a measure of quality. quality, but I still find it fun, even though the Oscars, they can definitely make the wrong decision or be kind of corrupt or whatever the hell. Either way, it's fun to look at these movies. Although it feels like I'm forgetting something. Because the Academy sure did when they didn't nominate No Other Choice. How the hell did this movie not get nominated for anything? This beautiful Korean movie about the horrors of economic woes and how it'll drive people to do anything they can to get ahead, including violent acts, it gets nothing? You gave fucking F1 a Best Picture nomination, but not this? Are you fucking kidding me? Does the Academy hate Koreans or something? They gave Parasite the win in 2020, then they thought, well, that's all they're gonna get. Insane snub. I cannot believe that this movie didn't get nominated for anything. It blows at least half the movies on the list completely out of the water. Fucking F1?